Just one big joke. It's a fucked up world. Here we are in. I ain't going nowhere.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Reason Reborn, episode 20. Jeez, we're moving along here. We are back with another ridiculously retarded week when it comes to our politics and our social. Just I don't know what to even call it. It's not even a social thing. It's just a fucking hurricane of dissent and despair. But first, we can't continue without saying hello to our eloquently elegant host, Cardiacsumo.
Those are two words that definitely do not describe me. Holy shit. But what up, people? I'm assuming that was some sort of introduction for me to take the stage there.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
You're now Lin-Manuel Miranda. It's time to start your show. Go.
And now somebody starts sounding like a robot again.
Of course, it does that. But why is it doing this? Because Comcast sucks. I hate Comcast. I really Comcast would go bankrupt. Why can't Trump go after them and give them terrorists?
How the fuck are you sounding clear again? Is it just whenever you bitch about Comcast?
I feel like it's like I invoke the anger and the hostility, then I'm okay. But if I don't invoke the anger,
bro, literally when you said I'm okay, it just stopped. It just went right back again. But what up, people? Before I forget, just a quick shout out to Luck Gamer and I don't know how to say this dude's fucking name. Tastic. You guys commented on that last video, and I saw that dude who should tell me how to say his name correctly. Tastic. Shout us out on Twitter a few times. He shared us out, told people to check us out. That was some cool shit. So wanted to shout out those guys before I completely forget about that.
Yeah, thank you guys for the comments and for watching. We appreciate it. I'm still roboting, aren't I?
No, you sound good now.
Yeah, what the fuck is going on with this internet? It's okay. We'll make it through.
Yes.
Got a lot to make through, but we'll make it through. I promise you.
Although I went to look at the video to remember that dude's name, and it's weird because I'm looking at you and then I'm looking at another picture of you freaking out about something. That's kind of
it's creepy. I do that sometimes. I also look over while I'm rendering the video and I see myself and I was like, what's wrong? What's going on here?
Hopefully you weren't also freaking about a Comcast in that video too.
I probably was because I've done several videos on them. Me and Comcast have serious if this were wrestling, we'd be like the Ric Flair, Ricky Steamboat, the Kevin Owens, fucking Sami Zayn back in NXT type shit. It would be that serious.
And Comcast is just power bombing you to death.
Yeah, it's shit. It just keeps fucking putting me on the apron and I keep getting back up and fighting back. And once I feel safe, think everything's cool, boom, apron power bomb. Why?
Yeah.
Why Comcast? Why?
Shout out to those dudes. Appreciate the conversation. Love to see more people. Plus, that video got a decent amount of views. So
yeah, I figured out this song. Plus, adding thumbnails are increasing things. So I'm gonna keep doing that.
Good shit.
Yeah.
Of course, this episode is gonna go to hell because I don't know what the fuck's going on in the world nowadays.
It's fine because when you said that, you also gave me a good idea for a thumbnail. So, boom. Very been constructive so far. So,
all right.
You can take the rest of the show off and don't have to worry about being called out for not knowing a lot.
You see that? Even when I suck, I'm a fucking inspiration.
Exactly. See, I told you. You're eloquent and you're elegant. You live up to your monikers. So, all right. Where should we start the shit show? Because we had a weird week last week with Nunberg. That was just the craziest shit I've ever seen. And by the way, I have Twitter open as well, so I'm sure something else is going to happen.
I'm certain.
But I guess the first thing, let's start with Trump's big tweet for the day. So Donald Trump tweeted out this morning that he no longer had a Secretary of State. He literally tweeted his firing of the Secretary of State. Realize that the Secretary of State is in charge of diplomacy for the United States. He's the guy who deals with all the other countries and speaks on behalf of the president. He does all the legwork with making, like, you know, different deals and agreements and pacts and all that, where the president can go in and try to coax his way through things. Secretary of State is the guy who lays the foundation for those things. Not anymore, because Rex Tillerson was fired by tweet, and Trump said that he was going to nominate the director of CIA, Pompeo, who, it's funny, he had hinted before that he wanted to get this guy because he liked some of his ways. This guy's famous for having no problem with using torture tactics, by the way, in the CIA, just to let you know. So he's Trump's kind of guy. And
true enough,
it was a mess because a later report came out that before the firing happened today, John Kelly had called Tillerson on Friday and told him to expect to get a message soon, and basically was very vague about it. He didn't tell him exactly what or as to why. So they kind of like left a black rose with that call on his desk to let him know that the mob was going to take a hit on him. And they took a hit out of him. And now we have no Secretary of State until they nominate the next one. Your thoughts on being fired by tweet? By the way, how would you feel if you got fired by a tweet?
Like dog shit in general, but it seems pretty much like the president's MO, I guess. I mean, yeah, I think you said something about how being the Secretary of State, normally that position would like establish a standard for diplomacy in general, but that's in a typical administration, not in this one. I mean, the president sees himself as a king. He's always doing shit, you know, in his own power, in his own way. He doesn't really converse with anybody else. He doesn't receive any advice or care about anything, what anybody else thinks. So, you know, this, I believe even with the tariffs, well, we'll cover it later in the show, but they've not been on the same page for a little while now. So it's not like Tillerson was really being like this awesome Secretary of State that just suddenly lost that job. Just Trump has not been on the same wavelength with anybody ever, probably in life. He does what the fuck he wants to do. So, but yeah, as far as the being fired by tweet specifically thing, yeah, it's shitty, but shitty is typical Trump. So it's not even remotely surprising, is it?
But you would think, like,
I'd say it'd be even more surprising if he did it properly.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind that there may have been some proper behavior done in this. Like, he may have like sent the message as soon as he gave Tillerson a call. But at the same time, why do you need to tweet it? Even if you did like do a proper, let's have a sit down meeting, let's discuss this. I just want to let you know, thank you for your service, but your duties are no longer needed. Or even if you just had Kelly just call him and yell at him that he was fired, then tweeting about it isn't proper. Why not do a press conference and discuss this with the public? Like, that's just, to me, that's just like if I just had sex with a girl that I know and I tweeting at her that, yo, you know, I just fucked the shit out of so-and-so right now. Like, that's rude. That's just fucking rude and not obnoxious. Yeah,
but the president currently loves to make a show out of everything. You know, he treats life and his presidency, like many people say, like reality TV. So I think him tweeting this was sort of that entertainment element he has to his presidency. And you look at his behavior, he's always doing shit like that. Like, he'll want to make an announcement, but he'll like tease the press about it. Like it's something that's coming up after a commercial break or something. Like, I've got a story for you guys.
Yeah,
Like,
did we ever get his awards? We didn't.
yeah, we did. His fake news awards?
Huh?
The fake news awards?
Yeah, did he do that?
Yeah, it just wasn't as big or anything. Like he hyped it up,
Okay.
and then it was like a shitty webpage that like broke.
Really? It's funny. He must have knew it wasn't shit, so he didn't.
I think it came up on like the GOP site or something, and then when everybody tried to go to it, like the link didn't work because their site can't handle shit.
Yeah, and they probably were like, "No, we can't have this up here. It's just no. We're trying to get reelected, bro. We got to go on these TV shows that are fake."
I wouldn't be surprised if it's still up there.
Okay, yeah, because I don't recall like him making a big to-do about that. Speaking of him, though, and his theatrics, he also gave a speech this past week for State Representative Rex Tillerson from Pennsylvania, who's in a really serious race. In fact, the polls should have closed right now in Pennsylvania or sometime soon, probably within the next 15 minutes on that race. And there's a lot of fear that he will lose that seat, which would be a very big blow to Trump's ego, because that was a district in which he pummeled Hillary Clinton during the election. Yet it seems like things are turned. And this guy Saccone is very, very much in jeopardy of losing a House of Representatives seat, which is also a big deal because a lot of people haven't really been looking at the House as, well, people have been wishing for this big blue wave to come in, like just rush through all of Congress. But realistically, looking at the statistics, it kind of seems like it's less likely to happen in the House of Representatives than it does in the Senate. Like the Senate seems like an easy flip, like because you're already at a 51-49 advantage right now. So yeah, you can flip the Senate easy. The House, however, you have one of the largest margins in history of the House of Representatives as far as party association. And for that to flip, or at least get to a point where it makes things very, very dicey, would be monumentous. And definitely would kill his last 2 years of this first term, because he wouldn't get anything done unless he tries to seriously be a dictator and seriously tries to just like force everything through directives and hope they don't get challenged.
Sure. Before we dig too deep into the magic that was that fucking rally, I will say one thing and then I've got a question. So first, it is really depressing how this political warfare game is going, because you hear everybody talk about the situation. It's always the Democrats have to take the House or Senate, and you have Trump's Republican regime over here fighting very hard to maintain their control. There's no sense, or it doesn't even seem like there's a hope in anybody that they could possibly work together. Like nobody seems to even entertain that as a possibility. And I'm not saying, shame on them, because the way it stands, they probably can't work together. There's some pretty extreme behavior happening here, but I do think that's something we ought to recognize, because everybody's starting position seems to be either we need to keep control of these houses or we need to take control, depending on whose side of that you're on. And it's not a healthy place for a democracy to be in. It's not a normal place for a democracy to be in, but it's pretty extreme. So I wanted to point that out. But
no, it is more extreme than it's probably ever been, because you would think that, like, my thing with voting has always been, at the end of the day, I just want to vote the right person in. I don't really care if you're Republican or if you're Democrat or if you're Libertarian or Greenpeace, whatever.
Green Party, yeah.
Problem is, we've gotten to a point now where it really feels like you have to vote for a certain entity because you want to get rid of the crazy people. And it seems like there's less crazy people on the Democratic side. And also there's a sense of desperation that I feel that goes into the coming elections, because it's like looking at the things that the GOP have done. And we'll go over one big thing they did this week as well. You're really worried about like whether or not these people have any type of interest beyond their own self-gain. And the willingness to like line themselves up with Trump in certain things where it's like obvious that this is not the right idea, yet they're continually backing these crazy antics and things that he does, backing the things that he says that breaks diplomacy, that breaks, domestic policies, that divides us more. Yet they're standing in lockstep with them. It's like you kind of feel like you gotta get rid of them. And if the best option is a Democrat, fuck it, we'll do it. Even though Democrat could be batshit insane. I literally think that you can get someone running on the Democratic side that has committed mass murder, and all you have to do is just have him say, but I'm committed to, after that, I've realized guns need to be regulated. And people are like, fine, good. You're somebody who will fucking like regulate guns, even though you just committed mass murder. It's like, you're just looking for somebody who gives a sensible enough answer at this point, so, regardless of whether or not they really believe it.
I'm not sure I agree that there's that level of desperation, because I find that the Democrats are more willing to kind of crucify each other. I mean, you go back to a lot of those like sexual scandals earlier last year or whatever. They didn't jump to like stay in lockstep with their leadership the way Republicans are doing, which makes me uncomfortable to say, because like you were saying, you want to vote for the right person regardless of their political affiliation. But we do have to acknowledge, as fair as we want to be to either side of this debate or this situation, they're not acting the same. They're not, at this moment in time, they're not equally bad at certain things. The Republicans right now, especially with this Trump element mixed into there, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but there's a particular problem that just doesn't exist, at least not as badly on the Democrat side. You made that point, like there just seems to be more sane people over there. Yes, and I don't know how to get around that, because it's forcing you into this situation where you kind of have to start siding with them probably more than you might like to. But
yeah, and I think that's why I feel like there's desperation. I feel like while it's not like the quote unquote Killmonger way of doing things, is like, let's just all band together and do what they did to us. I'm starting to hear more people want that from Democrats and trying to push them into that. It's just like that interview that they did with the guy a couple of weeks ago who's running against Ted Cruz in Texas. When Ted Cruz did that song about him, making fun of his nickname and all of that. And he's on the interview with CNN, and the lady, or I forget if it was CNN or MSNBC, he's doing an interview, and the lady is like, well, when are you going to do your song to rebut? I know you like, rock music. You should do a rock tune. And he laughed. He was like, no, that's not what I'm about. I'm just going to stick to the issue. She kept like pushing, like, come on, you should do something to retaliate. And it's like, I feel like a lot of people are like she may not have been serious, but I feel like a lot of people are like that right now, where they want you to like kind of go over the edge and be a lot more aggressive and this, more focused and kind of band together and just like slay the beast.
Yeah, I like to watch Real Time with Bill Maher, and much as a fan as I am of that show, I don't agree with literally everything he says. And one of the things he's been tending to say as of late is, make that point that the Democrats need to start fighting dirtier, I guess is a simple way to put it. And I can understand that on some level. I mean, because sometimes the way these guys are fighting on that other side is just not quite fair. There's no simple way around it, but I don't think that's the way to go. I don't want to drag.
I don't either.
It's a weird position to be in, because I don't want to drag the standard of politics down even further than they already are. I think we need to maintain this higher ground and pull the ground up higher toward us, not push it down further. But there is something to be said for this issue where you know, you have these people willing to play these insane games with the politics, and they'll make these fucking songs. They'll spread all kinds of distruths. It is difficult to combat when you're not willing to play as dirty, I suppose. And I'm, as much as I don't want both sides to be equally dirty, I am willing to acknowledge that it is a challenge to deal with.
Yeah, if you're gonna be aggressive, I want you to be aggressive with more of the issues. Like, at least stick to the policy side of things. And I think that's what most Democrats try to do when they attack aggressively. Unfortunately, though, we have to start. I mean, and when I say we, I mean voters have to start paying attention to the aggression that revolves just around the policies and not around. It's like, for all the shit that we give Trump about his, you know, sexual tendencies, the way he treats women, at the end of the day, that should kind of, in my mind at least, it should kind of be a little secondary to, you know, this wall thing, the DACA thing, you know, this tariff thing. These are things that will directly affect. I'm not saying that stuff isn't important to care about, but these are things that he can have the biggest influence on, and that can have big impacts on a lot of people's lives. You know, a lot more impact beyond your personal displeasure for the type of person he is. But he seems to have gotten us in this mentality where we're just, where he does so much in that area as well as the political areas that for some reason we're seeing more drawn to his personal issues than the political ones. And I wish we weren't. But that's how he's kind of skates through a lot of this stuff.
So by personal, do you mean like the porn star fucking, or?
Yeah, like the porn star thing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, which is a big story. Why we're going to touch on that, but at the same, it is a hilarious story too. Because, god damn it, he even fucks that up. Like, dude, you're a rich man. You should know how to cheat.
But so, I think part of the challenge with that is it's not like there's a clear line between like his personality and the personal stuff and this policy. Because even the porn star thing, you know, there's certain legal questions around that concerning his campaign and stuff. So it's like,
yeah,
it's hard to really. I do see your point, because when I first came up, I was like, that's weird, but I don't really care that he was fucking around on his wife. It makes him a bad person, but there's a lot more important things. And then they started bringing up, you know, certain concerns. I was like, fine, I guess we have to talk about this too. Like,
yeah, no, he's made the morality like even more prevalent. I mean, you always had to at least give off the semblance of a good person as a president. We've had our John Kennedys with Marilyn Monroe situations, things like that, or his involvement with the mob. You know, apparently, we've had Clinton and, you know, the blue dress. Sure. You know, we've had presidents have things, but even then, they didn't help foster it, and they didn't help. What they were doing didn't necessarily bleed the lines, you know, blur the lines into each other like he's doing. Like you said, sure, it's fucked up to hear the president's fucking a porn star and he paid her $130,000 to shut the fuck up about it because his wife was just having a baby at the time. He did it. Okay, cool. More outrage, I understand, but let's dim it down. But now we can't dim it down because, like you said, you have the thing where this was done to keep her from talking during the campaign. This may have been used with campaign money, even though the lawyer says he used personal money. No one can say exactly for sure. There's even like small things of the legal nature, like the affidavit and the whole agreement may be null and void because apparently there's a possibility that the notary in Texas didn't notarize the document properly. So there is no agreement for her to shut up. Therefore, he can't sue her and he can't touch her from going out and talking about this all over the place. Like, just like, and again, that's not something that has to do with what's going on with like overall United States government. But it's just like you can't even get that simple act of legal measure taken care of properly. And you're letting all of this stuff mix together, and it shouldn't be mixing together like that.
Plus, I mean, I think you were alluding to this a bit. There is a personality aspect to being president. When we have a president that's this seedy, it looks terrible for many reasons. It makes us look untrustworthy as a country that our leadership is so depraved. It has bad influences throughout the government. You see all these motherfuckers he's brought in with their own little corruption problems, down the ladder of succession here, like corruption at every level with this guy. Not to say that he created corruption in government or anything, but he's certainly exacerbating the issue, particularly with the types of people he keeps putting in position. So personality, you can't even really ignore that personality stuff as much as you like, because even the things that aren't directly legal problems are still causing problems for us both domestically and as far as foreign policy and how other countries look at it. So I think you said best. He's really bleeding these lines because his personality is so out of control. You end up having to talk more about it than you would normally like to.
Yeah, it's like you're talking about the head of HUD spending what was it, $30,000 on a fucking chair or something like that. The comment he made, you can't get a decent chair for $30,000, spending all this money for that. I
forget get a decent chair for $5,000 or something, and he spent $38,000 on like a dining set or something like that.
Yeah, and it was another guy who had been misappropriating funds by taking all these fancy trips on the plane that got fired and stuff like that. And these are like cabinet members, chief advisors, doing this, like basically pocketing taxpayers' money and getting all this extravagant stuff and living this lifestyle that has nothing to do with your job. And it's just like, this is the man who promised to clean up the city and make it more wholesome and
drain that swamp.
Yeah. And it's just like, no, you're not doing that. And it's just like with the speech, going back to the speech, and this is the problem again I have. This is why a part of me says I shouldn't be doing this podcast, because my goal for this podcast was to talk about certain issues, but to have a topic. But we can't have just topics anymore, because the topic is always, what the fuck is going on?
All right, so before we continue, let's commit to having a topic next week.
Yeah, I have to. I really have to.
You're not going to be able to get away from this cycle of shit.
And it's going to get worse as the year goes on, because, again, we get into we're going to have the runoff in Texas now for a spot. You have this shit in Pennsylvania. You have the upcoming midterm elections. And and again, this is what, March the 13th? He's only been doing this for 2.5 months, and this year alone, people.
Yeah. But I do appreciate that you pointed out, we shouldn't become too much of a slave to this news cycle. He's speeding up. He's accelerating.
But yeah, it's like and you could tell in the speech, this is what he wants. Because he talked about being presidential, and like, you wouldn't want somebody who's presidential.
You get bored.
You get bored. You want stuff like this happen. It's like this guy's whole life is based around being a cartoon. He wants to be this like iconic figure that we all look at, even if it's to his detriment, because he likes the attention. The whole speech, he was there to do a campaign rally for this representative who's probably going to get his ass kicked now after that. And he would mention him. But like I said to you the other day, I feel like he just basically just threw this dude to the wayside and just used him as a springboard to like put himself up on a pedestal. Because he would mention him, and he would mention like weird stuff like, people said I wouldn't win in 2016 and all this. It's like, okay, it's 2018, dude. We know you're president. Come on, stop. He mentioned like the election a couple of times. He actually spit in the face of the GOP in a little bit, because he mentioned Reagan and how Reagan wasn't all that great, which is sacrilegious. Like if there was a religious, there probably is. They probably do think of it like this. Now that I think of it, because that's what the GOP seems to do. They probably have this religious hierarchy within their whole, history of membership. And Reagan's at least one of the apostles, if not their Jesus. Because I don't know why, for some reason, people thought the 80s was just the most perfect time. I guess because that's when the 1% actually truly developed in this country. And if you're one of those senators who, descended from people who made their money in the 80s, you do actually owe Reagan a lot because he fucking helped bring a bigger divide between the haves and have-nots. He also almost put the country in total financial ruin when all that shit happened as time went on. And we've seen these effects happen with the recession and all the second Bush era where things doubled back once they tried to bring back some of the Reaganomic tactics and shit like that. And like now, where this fool is trying to bring back more Reaganomics and people are now worried about the tax bill all of a sudden because they didn't realize that this fucking idiot was trying to bring back the 80s. It's like, for some reason, he is the man. Like, Reagan's the man. And Trump was like, no, Reagan was overrated. Like, yet people were sitting there cheering, and these dudes in the GOP is like, yeah, he's the president. Like, the fuck?
For those guys, who might not have seen that video, I think CNN has it online.
They do.
It's like an hour, like 12 minutes or so. But you need to listen to that whole thing. I was like on a trip yesterday or something. I had a long drive, so I listened to it. You listen to that whole shit in its entirety because it is something to behold. I mean, like you said, he was supposed to be there for some guy, Rick
Saccone.
Yeah. He was supposed to be there for him, but he talked about himself a lot. I mean, I think I messaged this to you because it was the first thought I had like about 20 minutes through. I was like, man, like there's not many men on earth who could jerk themselves off that hard for that long. This guy is.
Yeah, no. He didn't even know that the real purpose was for that until I said something. That's how self-indulged that speech was.
Yes, and he's not kidding. I remember that. I started listening to it because you mentioned it to me. I heard he gave some talk, but I had no idea what it was for. So it just happened to show up in my like recommended thing on YouTube. So I just gave it a listen while I was driving. And I think like at maybe the 40-minute mark or something, I was talking to Black. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck he's doing here. What was the point of this rally? I think I started to ask you, and then like I got toward the end where he actually introduced the guy. I'm like, oh, he's here for that dude that he was mentioning before. I thought that was just like he's a random talking point.
Hour to introduce the guy whose rally it was. That should say something about this man.
Yes, but I'm sorry. That talk was so all over the place that I'm having a hard time even really jumping into it that he gave.
Yeah, and if you don't want to listen to it, CNN also did a thing where this guy wrote down 64 different points that were brought up in the whole thing. He brought up the Olympics, how the Olympics would have sucked if it wasn't for him. How, I don't know.
I meant to ask you about that because I didn't understand what the fuck that meant. I guess because he is saving us from being attacked by North Korea.
Well, see, that's the thing, because that's what dude said. He was like, this is the logic. Trump is tough on Kim Jong-un in North Korea. That means that Kim Jong backs down off his nuclear threats. And because Kim Jong backed down off his nuclear threats, the Olympics succeed. Never mind the fact that before the Olympics even occurred, South Korea and North Korea got to the table and negotiated with each other and said, you know what? We're going to represent this as one country, and we're going to like start our political dialogue and diplomacy by using the Olympics as a sign that we're trying to work better together. That's why like the Olympics worked, because one, they decided to play nice with each other and not like have like, a fight during the Olympics. Two, Korea is badass. They did a great presentation and set up for the Olympics. And 3, people love the fucking Olympics. People go to Olympics. Of course, the Olympics is going to be successful. It was going to be successful if Trump was in office or not.
I guess. I mean,
it wasn't like there was going to be this big wave of like international. Fuck this. Donald Trump didn't help. We're not going. They're going to see their countries being represented. They can fuck all about you. Fuck.
So this rally, this Trump rally, because it certainly wasn't a Rick rally, that he was giving it. I think it's a perfect illustration of the point I was making earlier about the way he loves this entertainment aspect of the presidency. I mean, you could tell when he's talking out there, he's not talking, he's performing.
He made one point to say every time I'm in a stadium and there's 25,000 seats, I sell it out. That's all he's looking for.
Yeah, I think even when he said that, he made some point about some other people, some other government people only getting like 20 people or something and they're happy. Like, that's not really the point of being president, but you can tell that is exactly what he likes about it. He's always talking about ratings. He said something like,
Arnold Schwarzenegger came up.
The news loves me because I make their ratings great, which is something no president should give a shit about, by the way. You're not a TV guy anymore.
If anything, as president, you should want to be on TV as little as possible because that means that there's not a lot for them to say about you. And that's good.
Not in his eyes. That's not good. He wants to make those ratings. He wants... I genuinely think this is the only part of the presidency he likes. That's why he's always doing these little rally things and talking about himself. He likes getting that crowd interaction. And they bond with him. And you look at him, the way he looks around, the way he's like soaking in the applause. He loves this shit. And to be fair, who doesn't love being applauded and being the center of attention? That's fairly human, but most of us don't go so far out of our way to seek that attention.
Yeah.
Like
not at the level he does, because it's like it's a blind exhilaration for him. Because let's be honest, let's just say that first of all, I highly doubt that was 25,000 people in a stadium coming to see. In fact, I don't think he's ever done a rally in a stadium. I think the largest place he's ever done any type of public speaking since he's been president was probably his inauguration. So I don't know where he got the stadium thing from. That being said,
from the same place he gets anything else. He's just talking.
Yeah, but it's like that being said, he perplexed me and his ability to act like there's nothing else going around him except for all positivity and love. This is a man who digests 12, 14 hours of TV a day. You can't tell me that every channel, and you watch mainly news. So you can't tell me that you don't recognize how much hate and that you're so oblivious to it, or you enjoy the hate so much that it just feels. I don't know. He's a weird, crazy person. Because I don't get. It's like I don't care about people talking. I've always been the kind of that way. It's like, you're gonna talk about me, fine. But I would like to think that if CNN, MSNBC, and damn near every news outlet in the United States and around the world were all saying a lot of shit about me, that I would have the wherewithal to kind of question, what the fuck am I doing for so many people? I mean, I can't write it up. I can't do that oblivious, they're just haters thing like people do today. There has to be something wrong.
I suppose. I mean, even there was, I can't remember the exact quote, but at one point when he was shitting on, traditional media and CNN, MSNBC, NBC, all that stuff, he legit just said straight up, those news organizations suck. Fox News is awesome. It was essentially, I can't remember the exact quote, but he straight up just spit out a strong preference for Fox over any other news. So I think it's easier for him to dismiss CNN and MSNBC because he doesn't respect them as news, primarily because they disagree with him so much.
I guess that one voice is loud enough for him to dismiss the others.
I mean, in fairness, I think one of the things he said was that Fox News gets higher ratings or something, and Fox News's ratings are high. They have I don't want to sound too disrespectful to them, but they have a sort of lunatic, fringy fan base that really loves their shit. They have a loyal viewership that they can really hold on to, and they're not going broke or anything.
I don't know about that, because why did he sell off all the other Fox stuff?
Yeah, Fox has a decent. Maybe I shouldn't have talked about it in terms of finance in particular. They have a decent
I get what you're saying.
Cultural impact on a lot of Americans, especially some older people.
Well, it's like how the early days. It reminds me of the early days of YouTube, where everybody, in particular, started doing the gaming stuff, and it was mostly just people doing gameplay and showing how cool they were playing games. And then you started to get those early people who started having opinions, and you had the ragers who would rage about things. And it was like they blew up really, really fast and seemed to be getting bigger than the other ones because while everybody else was playing nice or doing quote unquote the normal things, they were that one outlet that gave those people who had that anger and wanted, to that expression of their feelings, shown, and show them that, hey, it's not just me. I feel like that's Fox. All the people who hate, the other races, religions, all that stuff, they have a home. And most of us aren't going to just dedicate ourselves to news.
No,
because we have a diverse, even when it comes to political and social thoughts, most TV kind of is liberal in a sense. You don't have a lot of hardcore right-wing television shows. But Fox, that's all you're going to get. And for somebody who needs that, who doesn't have that, that's fucking life. It's like, I don't have to watch CNN. I could watch Rachel Maddow on MSNBC. Or I can turn to, another place, even Bloomberg, and find something that matches my taste politically or socially. Fox is it. Fox, that's their thing.
Yeah, I think I talked about it a little bit on either the last show or the one before it, but this sense that they that group of people kind of lost the cultural war. You see it even in media, like they're making up this bullshit about there being this sort of secret liberal entity that's has this insidious plot to take over the world. But what they are noticing is correct. There is a bit more of that socially liberal attitude in a lot of areas, which is for a reason. We progress socially as time moves forward. That's why you see that difference. So they're not wrong to recognize it, but it makes it so that they start to coalesce in these tight little groups around Fox, around, like NRA TV. Like John Oliver did a little special on NRA TV the other day that was kind of creepy. They retract into these social, just small, hyper-committed social groups, which is why I say Fox still has a lot of sway on them, because that's all a lot of them are hearing, which a lot of us should acknowledge. They're not watching CNN or MSNBC, they're watching Fox. And the message there is very different. So.
Yeah. Because even on social media, you get a lot of people who are very brazen with that type of attitude and that behavior. But you still can probably say that there's a huge majority of people who are more liberal in their thoughts, or even on social media. It's a lot easier for them to convey their message on social media, but at the same time, it does tend to get washed out a lot by the sway of people who, even if you're not quote unquote liberal, who just don't want to deal with that bullshit, We're just go mind your business. I'll mind mine. Even. um, so yeah, Fox will probably be around for a good while because they are the line right now for them. They're probably always going to be the line, and because we do have freedom of speech, you can't deny them that.
You shouldn't. I mean, there should
No,
be
you
some
shouldn't.
way for us to come together on more sensible ideas. Like,
But you know what? I kind of appreciate those people and appreciate seeing things like that, like Fox. Because a friend of mine, we were having a conversation, and they were telling me about how this woman, this white woman that she knows, that's a close friend of hers, made this whole stereotypical comment to her while they went to go see Black Panther, and she was trying to like giving her movie etiquette rules, like you shouldn't talk and you shouldn't like be on your phone and stuff like that, and it's like she got what she was trying to say, but at the same time, the way that she was conveying it was like, I know how you guys are when you go to the movie, type of relaying it. Meaning Black people, because let's be real, we've ever went to a Black theater, especially for a Black movie, because I just went and saw Black Panther for the second time in a quote unquote Black theater, and sure enough, people were talking at the movie. People, had the phones go off, things like that. It's like, so yeah, sometimes that shit the stereotype does borne out, but again, that may have been just that theater. It doesn't mean that every Black person acts like that. But the way the lady was related to it was kind of like, I just need to let you know because I know you're Black. So, and she was like, I was like, damn, that's fucked up. Why are you even like talking? She's like, one, she knows she's not being racist or anything, but at the same time, she appreciates it if she were, because she'd rather know just the exact type of person that she is, rather than her pretending to her and lying to her and sneaking behind her back. And I think that's what Fox is for me. It's like, I'm glad that they're out there because we know the people, like the people who go there and who they support. We know what type of people they are. So we know who we need to push to the side and replace.
Yeah, I would much rather people be open and honest with what they're thinking, because there's definitely a lot of friends I've had and still have, I guess, that I didn't quite know where their mind was on social and political issues until that last election. And they are pretty extreme in certain directions that surprise me, which is because we haven't generally been really willing to talk about that shit. So I'm not saying I can change their minds, or maybe I even shouldn't change their minds. Maybe I'm wrong about shit. That's fair. But we often don't talk about any political or social issues. We talk about sports and TV and all that other fun shit, all that light shit. We always want to keep it light. So I think it's good to have that communication open. I've been wanting to watch a little Fox to kind of just get a sense of what's going on there, but every time I look at a bit of it, I'm just like, holy shit. At first, I wanted to look at it thinking, I'm going to get a little bit more of a conservative kind of view, but that shit isn't conservative. That shit's just nuts, yo.
Yeah, no. It is. It is funny because I've seen people who said they were conservative. Like I remember there was a certain guy who worked for IGN who considered himself a Republican and conservative. But it's like since that election, I've seen him make a transformation into this batshit insane person that's just hateful and spiteful of people who have issues. Like before I unfollowed him, he made this whole rant about how it doesn't matter what happens, because if you try to say anything or do anything, other races are just going to make you feel like you're being rude for saying, I forget exactly what it was, but it was something that was offensive. And it's like, why are you angry that people are offended at you being offensive? And it's just like, I feel like I get that from a lot more people. Like this other guy I know, he is just constantly posting stuff memes and stuff to make fun of liberals and stuff like that, and the stupid, the dumb ones where you get the logic like, well, Obama did this, even though it's had nothing to do with what somebody else did, and you all liked it. So aren't you the hypocrites now? And this is like, who said we liked it? You're just assuming that we like certain, like what? It's just like they're making themselves way too unbearable. Like, I could disagree with everything that Trump says, but I will be sensible if you have a sensible conversation with me. I don't need to yell. I don't just go out and start yelling at people or trying to make them feel bad for liking Trump. I want to know why. I want to talk to you. I want to have a conversation. But they just seem to want to force down the throat now that for some reason they're the victimized now because they can't do the things they used to do. And it's just like, well, what you were doing was bad. Shouldn't you want to try to like correct your mistake? I don't go. It's a weird time. That election like really did a lot to shift the way things have gone in my mind.
When I watched that video of Trump's little rally, right near the end, I went down to the comment section, and maybe it's changed by now, but there was a lot of people expressing this, haha, fuck the liberals. He's trolling them. He's doing all this and that. Sweet liberal tears, like that kind of joy at the misery of liberals by, I don't know what they would call themselves, non-liberals. Some of them might call themselves conservatives. I feel like that would be a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
I don't know what to call this group, really. There's this group of people that just really hate liberals, and I just don't know. I'm sure a lot of people's first instinct would be to call them like the alt-right or some shit. I don't know what. There's just this weird group of like vaguely conservative people who like really like guns and shit and hate liberals, and they're out here having fun at the expense of other people.
Yeah, we talked about it before. It's like that misuse of the word liberal, because the definition of liberal is like, it's not what you're saying it is. And I feel like they use the word liberal too to hide what they really want to say in a lot of cases.
Which is
pull out any number of derogatory terms for different people who are considered liberals. Like, liberals are considered to be people who like homosexual rights, so they probably think you're like, gay lovers, or they might use the like more offensive term, like you like faggots and stuff like that. I've heard people say that recently in comments. I feel like they just use liberal has now become the term for that person that doesn't like the fact that I despise certain things, that person who don't want to hear me say how I feel about Black people, Hispanic people, or anything like that. Essentially, that person who's taking away my right to be disrespectful seems to be what liberal it means to a lot of people that I've seen lately. Instead of, no, you just have a different political viewpoint on how things should be done.
I'm not sure. It's a weird situation. I do agree with you. When we get into politics, especially the use of these terms, does get a little confusing, because there certainly is that confusion between like classical liberalism, just freedom in general and shit like that, versus like the more socially progressive stuff that I think they're normally referring to when they talk about liberalism, like wanting supporting the LGBTQ community, race inclusion, that type of shit, the type of progressivism that they tend to be referring to when they call somebody a liberal. So I do think there's a little language confusion there. As far as their love of like saying, fuck liberals in particular, I talked about it before. I think it's just this team mentality. The liberals are on that fucking team that's been oppressing us this whole time, and now they're taking it in the ass. They're getting what they deserve. I might go back and look at that video in a second just to see, but I was shocked at the amount of people who got on that video just to call CNN fake news and show delight at the misery of liberals. And it makes me wonder, what is your motivation exactly? You want to talk about all these. Actually, that might be too generous. I was about to say you want to talk about all these issues, but you don't really want to talk about any issues. You mostly just want to stick it to a liberal.
Yeah. And are liberals really getting it, getting it stuck to them when you think about it seriously? Well, it's not like the roles have reversed, which I don't know where the roles reversed in the first place. To be quite honest, society has always been, for the most part, progressive. It may take places or take certain eras longer to get places. There's always been the struggle and the argument for better things for different people and a more equal society. It's not like this is something that was just invented in the Clinton era, because I feel like a lot of people feel like the Clinton era kicked off the liberal like onslaught. Something like, no, we've always, it's like, why do you think the Civil Rights Acts happened? Why do you think the Civil War and slavery getting abolished happened? Liberal acts have gone throughout history. So I don't understand why you felt like you've built up to this moment where you just were crushed and now you can come back. It's dumb. But it's like, look at Florida. All the like noise that was made about the gun thing. Was it a huge measure? No. But they voted to change the age limit in Florida, something people were arguing for because they thought that it was the right thing to do, which people consider a liberal act. If liberals were getting it stuck to them, why would that even happen? It's not like progression has died because Trump's in office. It's just hard to realize. It's just harder to kind of. It's just like the plane has changed, but it's still you continue to still walk up it.
I don't know when they call the liberals per se, even then they're not disagreeing per se on any political issues. Not for the most part, because things like that, like those gun issues, those things that they want to do to help prevent more of those things to happen, like raising the age, banning certain shit. Plenty of conservatives will vote for that too. I mean, that's one of the few things we seem to really agree on as that well, is this type of gun regulation issue. So when they call out liberals for hating guns, I mean, that's sort of a fantasy. Conservatives are generally fine with a lot of that shit too. You're attributing far more radical ideas to these supposed liberals than they really have in practice. Yeah. Like when a lot of them say, look at this country that got rid of guns or whatever. Look how low their shooting death rate is. They're not generally, suggesting that we get rid of all our guns. They're just kind of making the general point that removing some guns can have an effect. Like a lot of these people who hate liberals so much are attributing far more extreme ideas to them than they. If you really talk to them, in fact, personally, I would say that I'm probably more extreme than a lot of them. I'm probably further left on some social issues than a lot of them that you would talk to. They're not really all that intense.
Yeah, no, they really aren't. And they, even like with people in Congress, a lot of times you hear people get upset with them, but some of the things that even Democrats do, they have to do because they're trying to be sensible and they're trying to pick their fights and they're trying to do things the proper way. If they were all hardcore liberals, do you think that there wouldn't have been any votes for some of the things that they've gotten? Like some of the things in the Senate couldn't have gotten through without Democrats agreeing to, because they think that some of those things might be the right thing to do. It's not about necessarily being a liberal. That's like whether or not you think this is what's good for everybody.
Sure.
And I think that's the point that a lot of people who scream at liberals forget, that true liberalism is about what's best for the people. And if a Republican does that, then isn't he being kind of liberal?
I guess, depending on how you want to use those particular words. But, you know, I brought up this group of people that really hate the liberals to make a point. We talked a lot about how the president likes to stroke his own ego and stuff, and he's really getting into the adulation, getting from the crowd. It's easy to miss that the crowd itself is giving him this love. I mean, you listen to them, they adore this motherfucker no matter what he says, even if it was stuff that conservatives would generally not approve of, they'll cheer. I shouldn't say it like that, because I think there's some newer people mixed into this crowd now than there were 10 years ago. So I don't mean to make it sound like all conservatives suddenly just like flipped on a dime for this motherfucker. I do think some of what we're seeing is just like a shift of people into what we're calling conservatism. But when you listen to that crowd and you look at the people in the background, like little girls, like I don't know if she was a little girl. She looked like a kid to me. Whatever. She was a female person, like with a sign behind him, just like the whole time, Trump, women for Trump. Yeah, fuck yeah. There's genuine excitement around this guy. He has this cult of personality around him. He
gets the YouTube generation. I hate to say it that way, but he gets the YouTube generation very much so. He knows how to pick his spots to get what reaction he needs. Just like any YouTuber who does like all types of things like reaction videos and rage videos and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, just go with what people want.
I mean, it is a truth that a lot of people, how should I say this? They kind of like when people are negative. I'm trying to figure out the proper way to put that. There's been some studies that even show that when people shit on things, they're kind of seen as more credible. I can't remember the exact study, but it was like they studied like book reviews or some shit like that, and they showed that when people are shitting on the book, they seem more credible than somebody who's praising it as like a psychological thing. I came across it in a book the other day, but when I saw that, when I heard that, and I was listening to an audiobook, I was like, I can kind of see that being the case, because a lot of people seem to be on board with not negativity per se, but there's something that feels to them more credible about a person shitting on something than praising it. And I think that's where Trump gets a lot of power. He shits on the state of the country in every way. You know, we have all these problems he's always talking about. We have all these other countries, you know, fucking us economically. We have crime coming in from across the borders, drugs, you know, all these. He's always talking shit about all the other politicians. Obama didn't do shit. The news sucks. He's tapping into this instinct that I think we all have, but it's stronger in some other people than, you know, the rest of the population. That, you know, if you're a doomsayer, you're seen as a prophet, essentially.
Yeah, cynicism is big right now.
It's easy not to notice how powerful a force that is, but I think it is. And he's resonating with a lot of people because he does that. Now, a lot of the shit he's talking about that is so terrible is just factually not true. But emotionally, he is tapping into this primal instinct a lot of people have. And that's what I was thinking when I was watching that rally, because sometimes I would like look over to somebody's face in the background and I'm just in awe of how connected to him they seem to be. You know, I called him a performer a little while ago because I almost admire it in some little way. He has this connection with these people that I can't even describe it. It makes me sick to even praise it. But
yeah, you know, but I understand because I have to give him credit too. His performance is good, at least for what he wants to get. It's good. It works. It does the job. I mean, he took a nation and turned it upside down when he ran for president, and look where it got him. And now he's just taking this and just like spinning us around on his finger, like with us holding on for dear life, trying not to fall off. And he's having a ball, and like people who love him thinks it's the greatest ride in the world. People who don't are just like thinking that we're all gonna die, and it seems to not faze him at all. And that's the thing that I think that like worries me and also puts me in awe of him. Is like I said, with the whole thing with how he seems to be able to close out the fact that every news outlet seems to hate him except for Fox, and so many people talk bad about him. It's like it's all just a game. It's fun. He's like a fucking 3-year-old who lights a match and burns down the house and thinks it's the coolest thing in the world.
Yes, it's odd. But yeah, when I was watching that rally, I was looking at the people in the back getting excited. I think it's for a lot of us who are concerned about him, I think it's easy for us to actually listen to what he's saying and realize, like, wow, this sounds stupid. And for like first 20 minutes, I was like, wow, this sounds really stupid. But then I'm watching these people and this emotional fervor that's in them. And I stop and I pull myself back and I say, all right, stop thinking of this guy as a fucking moron, because that's obviously not the way they're looking at him. I look in their eyes and they're looking at
you
this
can think
guy
of him as a moron. It's fine.
For a second, because I want to see what it is they're seeing. And when you look at them and they're looking back at him, it's like they're looking at their savior or something. So I pull myself back and I just like try to listen to him talk without really listening, I guess. And if you, just as a performance, if you listen to him, you can kind of see how his shifting cadence can come off as sort of attractive to some people. The way he talks and moves a little bit. He's a fucking clown, but I think it's very easy for a lot of us to not see why he's so appealing to these people, because we're actually listening to what he says. And it's objectively stupid, but when I look at some of those comments, they're not just shitting on liberals. They're talking about this guy like he really is saving America. They believe that shit. And
yeah. It kind of goes back to part of what the problem I have with, like, I do content on YouTube and stuff like that. It's the problem that I have with a lot of content creators. That's why I stopped following a lot of people, except for people who I like have personal relationships with. But he has that mentality that a lot of people get when they get into certain positions, that he could say and do what he wants because that's the type of person he is, and that's what people love. And I think a lot of people have drawn to that type of attitude in a person over the past couple of decades. Like the specter of saying whatever the fuck you want and either getting away with it, or at least even if you don't get away with it, fuck it, I'm still going to say what I want and I don't care what you think. People love that because, again, especially going back to the whole watching the liberal tears, because a lot of people feel like they can't say what they want anymore. They can't do what they want. They can't behave in certain ways. And here is this guy, bold as shit, president of the United States, don't give a fuck who he offends. Don't give a fuck who he offends internationally, domestically. Feels like he can do whatever the fuck he wants. That's uplifting to that person who feels like they're kind of caged in having to behave. People who don't like the fact that there's rules, regulations, there's certain common courtesies in life. That shit's appealing. Yeah. It's in a way it is kind of liberating if you think about it, being able to say and do whatever the fuck you want without repercussion.
When I can wrestle it. when you looked at a character like Stone Cold Steve Austin, the way he was just like telling the authority to stick it, drinking beer at work, doing whatever the fuck you want. There was something exciting about it. Hell, even more recently, like CM Punk, when he was doing that shit, there was something
I love CM Punk.
Exhilarating about this guy who just says fuck you to like everybody else, whether you're his boss, his friend, his whatever. There is something emotionally appealing about that sort of liberation from social restraint. it's not good generally to be liberated from social restraint because you get psychos, but
no, that's because people take it too far. It's just like using your Stone Cold thing. Yeah, Stone Cold was like, fuck you to Vince and all that. And he would just be like, if he didn't like you as another wrestler, yeah, he'd be like, fuck you. You know, he was this old man. He like kept to himself. And if you had a problem with you, he'd address it, take care of it. But he wasn't totally without rules or morals. You know, if he saw the boss doing something to somebody who he didn't think deserved it, he'd step out and fucking handle that. He wasn't just amoral. He had his, you know, he had his code of honor. He had, you know, his, you know, level of social interaction that, yeah, I'll fight anybody who wants to fight me, and I'm damn sure I'm going to bring the fight to somebody who's trying to push me back. But he didn't just blindly just run around just fucking everybody just because. It wasn't like we would see scenes with Stone Cold going by and he'd be like, hey, Rey Mysterio, you fucking spit, let me stun you or some shit like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
He had respect for certain people. It's just the people he didn't respect, he fucking went at and said how he felt, did what he want. And it's like that. He still had rule, but people take that as, yeah, fuck yeah, he just does anything he wants. I want to do anything I want. And not think like, but he also had his limits.
Sure enough. There was one point of defense that when I was listening to that, he brought this point up, and I'm somewhat a little inclined to agree with him on this point. He was mentioning when he went on, where the fuck was he? He was doing some event that's suddenly escaping my mind, and he talked about how China's president is president for life. And, you know, he made that joke like, maybe we should try that here. And he was mentioning the way, you know, like CNN and MSNBC and all that shit were saying, you know, oh, here we have Trump now saying we should be president for life, disrespecting democracy and all this shit, even though I was just joking. First of all, you know, fuck him, because the reason they're so concerned is because you have authoritarian issues, definitely. But I will say in his defense that I was a little annoyed when they made such a big deal about that during that news cycle too, because I was like, this is one of those examples where you guys cannot let even the tiny shit go, and you're making yourself seem way biased here. He obviously, in that case, was joking.
No, I counter that slightly because the fact, like you said, he's had so many authoritarian things. He's questioned why presidents can't do whatever they want in several different instances. And this is in serious conversation.
Yes.
So
definitely.
who is to not think that there would be some grain of seriousness in that joke about him thinking it's cool? And look at the people who he admires the most. He admires like people like Putin, an authoritarian, someone who he thinks is just the greatest person on earth.
Sure.
He had like,
I agree.
I will agree partially that yeah, they are overreacted and we shouldn't take it like serious, but he's kind of built this whole scenario where should we take him serious?
Yes, I agree that he, in his personality and actions and history, has made himself a concern in that regard. But I think they forgot is that you have like this portion of the population that is looking at you like you're fake news. And in their eyes, you just jumped all over this motherfucker for what, in that context, in that place, really was a joke. I don't think it was an appropriate joke given his history with this problem, but that made it, when I saw that, I'm like, you guys.
Oh, but no, he was saying that he was joking about it when he said it.
But he was making a lot of jokes when he said it. It was
He said it a week ago. He said it over a week ago. That's the thing. He mentioned it in the speech. That was a comment that he made like a day after. He tweeted it, I think, even. I'm not sure if he tweeted or he just said it. But it was like the day after that guy made his push to become president for life. That's where I think they're concerned. That's the part of where that is coming from, because he followed that news with that response. And then in this rally, he mentioned it again.
Yes, but if I recall, during that news cycle, they were specifically referring to that. I can't remember what that fucking event was where he was It was supposed to be like one of those things where, you know, all those politician people come together to like make jokes and shit. It was like one of the many things he was doing.
It was some type of roast or some like dinner.
Yeah, it was one of those things. And when I saw how much attention was being paid to that, I was like, I agree. There's reasons to be concerned about this motherfucker with that type of thing. But I just think about that portion of the population that says this is fake news. And I'm looking at you guys. I mean, he says, like you were saying, in serious context, he says this type of shit all the time. You didn't have to go for the one where he could make that argument that he was joking. And he could make that argument seriously because he was, at the time, making a lot of jokes.
I mean,
It wasn't worth digging into that particular one when you have a million other serious examples of him doing that.
A serious news piece on it. But I guess it's because, like, I agree with you. It's an overreaction. But I kind of don't have any problem with it happening because, again, this is a very weird time where you don't know what the fuck to take serious or what not to take serious sometimes. I mean, if it were me, like, I didn't think about it until he came back out and said that shit in his rally. Because I was like, okay, he said that, haha, whatever. And then he decided to bring it back up. It's just like, why are you needling people now with this?
Like, he brought that up because he got shit for it, though.
But you don't have to.
No, you shouldn't. But I'm just saying he didn't bring it up again, like, in a serious way. Like, yeah, we should have me for president for life.
No, but like, just because you got shit for it, you still didn't have to do that.
No.
You knew you were going to get shit for it anyway. It's like...
But it was strategically... And this is the problem I had when they did it in that news cycle, because I knew he would do this. He's talking to his fan base who already thinks that news is fake as shit. And now he has this example of them jumping all over him for something minor. And again, these are the same motherfuckers that jump on like CNN's YouTube videos and say, CNN fake news is bullshit. Do the same thing with MSNBC. They gave him an example to do this, which is exactly what I thought he would do when they started doing that during that news cycle. Like, he's definitely going to use that shit again, and you guys gave him right to it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because I do agree. There's a lot of times where they weaponize him with certain things that they jump on, and it's just like, yo, just you don't say anything, he can't do anything.
Because him and a lot of those people, we talked about it, they act like victims all the time.
Yeah,
and what you just gave him was an example of you supposedly like bullying him or whatever, like. It wasn't a good look, and the second I saw that in the news, like, I'm like, he's definitely gonna do this shit.
And see, this goes back to my whole like how unnatural this is, because I know it seems like an over exaggeration, but had someone like Obama or have Bush had said that, people would have like probably reacted to it. Maybe in a worse way. Because it would have came out of left field. I honestly believe it would have been a worse reaction because you didn't expect that from those type of people. And you're like, what are you talking about? Like, that's not a good idea. You know what I mean? Whereas you kind of should expect dumb ideas from him, which is why you shouldn't react so vehemently against that. It's like, yeah, if Bush said that, hold the phone. What are you talking about? But him, it's just like, it's fun. It is sad because it's stuff that he's probably not serious about. But you kind of have to start taking him as a joke most of the time until he actually does something of significance, like sign an order, like the tariff thing. That, fuck yeah, blow the fuck up about the tariff thing, because he did that. He was serious about that. He did that. But yeah, there's no way unless the GOP decides to. And now the reaction should have been if the GOP said that sounds like a good idea to me, then blow the fuck up. But him saying that shit shouldn't probably have been as big as a deal. Again, I understand why they make it a big deal because he's always saying so much stuff, but we've gotten to the point where we need to start like taking a second and breathe and be like, yo, you're taking him way too fucking serious. I get it. He's a fucking psycho, but we can't be just in the state of arrest at everything that he does.
I feel uncomfortable even trying to make that sort of point because I do think we should take him seriously enough in general, if only because he's the president and he's saying that shit. And I feel uncomfortable with this notion that I'm sort of putting out there that we need to strategically, even in the news, talk about him. But he is a very unique force. And I mean, sometimes you just are unintentionally weaponizing this motherfucker because he can use a lot of that shit you do. And again, I don't necessarily want to get into the point where the news is intentionally trying to strategize too much, because then, you get into this weird space where, the news is just supposed to give you the facts and not really supposed to shape your opinions. But I don't know. I don't know how to properly deal with this. I don't want to get into a position where the news is deciding how I should think or whatever. Strategizing to manipulate.
You make the argument they're doing that already.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the funny part. It's like his whole thing is they're making you think that way, and it's like, no, they're really not. They're giving their opinions, but no one can make you think that way unless you already kind of feel that way in some form.
I think it's one of the greatest issues I just have with him in general. He puts us in such uncomfortable fucking positions that I never know quite how to deal with. Like even the Democrat versus Republican thing when we were talking about wanting to vote for whoever does the job right. You end up right now, you would look like you have this extreme bias against Republicans and in favor of Democrats, if only because the political landscape is forcing that. Like you end up in these situations you cannot easily navigate your way out of.
Yeah.
But did we talk about the North Korea shit?
No, we did not. I think we briefly touched on it because it happened. I think during the show, where honestly, because I remember there were like three different things. There was a Stormy Daniels thing with the first Stormy Daniels thing when they were saying like she wasn't actually barred, and then it got deeper this week with that because now she's going on tour and her lawyers are fighting and disputing the claim that the whole thing is legal. Like I said before about the notary, and Trump never signed the agreement, so is it null and void because he never signed to the agreement stating that he wants that, and his lawyer's been like constantly talking about, of course Trump didn't use his money because he didn't pay me back for it, further confirming that this man who keeps saying I never touched her did touch her. He just hired an impeachment lawyer, by the way, to help him if he gets impeached. Robert Mueller indicted someone else. He indicted an aide. He also had found information that Robert Gates actually I think it was Robert Gates. They said, I forget who it was. So many of these people involved in this is crazy, but apparently the person who he found out gave news that they actually did contact Julian Assange, who is the creator of WikiLeaks, who was said to have partially had information on this whole collusion thing anyway, and has been protecting it, and just all types of fucking nonsense has happened. But yeah, we never really got deep into the fact that North Korea is willing to talk to the United States about de-weaponizing their nukes and coming up with some type of agreement.
I was curious because I know that was one of the major talking points for him during that rally, and I can remember quite when it happened. And it was
it was related Tuesday to night.
I think it was related to that whole Tillerson debacle, but
yeah, part of it is because Tillerson didn't want to do some of the sanctions that he wanted with a lot of things. Like Tillerson was one of the big opponents of the tariff. He wanted to actually have the NAFTA negotiations happen without trying to force the hand. By the way, if you didn't hear, also Trump gave a quote unquote repeal of the tariffs to Canada and Mexico. And now he's part of the reason why he fired Tillerson too is because he wants to bring Pompeo in there because he thinks that he'll be a tougher negotiator in getting this done, because he wants this done before the 30-day repeal is up, and he wants to force Canada and Mexico's hand in rearranging NAFTA to the way that he feels is more beneficial to the United States.
Yeah, I did not hear about that repeal thing, so
Huh?
I did not hear about him repealing those tariffs, but
yeah, he did. He said, "I'll give Canada and Mexico a 30-day repeal if they change, but they have to change NAFTA before it's over."
Okay, so before we jump back on the North Korea thing, because that interested me, I'm going to preface what I'm about to say with the fact that I haven't heard about it, so I haven't read anything, I don't have any details. So take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt, but that looks like a real bitch move as far as negotiation. When you pretend you have this strong hand and then you pull it back before you get anything, that's strategically stupid. Like he has this desire to bully anybody he's going to negotiate with. I assume he's like this with business too. And just game theoretically, when you act like a tough guy and then you don't back it up, it makes you look like a fake tough guy. It gives you a bad reputation as somebody who cannot actually follow through with what they say they're gonna do.
Yeah, no, because when Trudeau responded, he was like, "Yeah, well, we're happy in Canada that he did that because that way we won't have anything happen with us, basically." But he was like, "We'll talk. We'll still continue to talk, and even if the tariff comes back up, basically, he was like, we're just going to work towards like whatever we need to resolve this issue. There's nothing settled at the moment. Just,
Any threats you make after you do something like that have no weight anymore. Your threats have no teeth.
Yeah, in my opinion, no, because I'll threaten you back. Fuck it. And I bet you my threat will have more weight than yours because I'll probably stick to my guns.
Exactly. You've proven that your threats are meaningless, which is part of the problem with Trump's whole strategy in dealing with other nations. You cannot generally hold to a lot of these threats he keeps making to people. And it's just going to establish you as somebody who cannot back up what you say. It's not great.
Yeah, because what if Canada and Mexico are now negotiating with other countries for the steel trade and the import? Like, well, fuck. If other country, like, it's like, say England decides, you know what, Canada, it's fucked up that he's taxing your imports. We're going to give you a tax break, and you can ship more steel here, and we can work out a deal that's beneficial for both of us, where you don't pay as much taxes, but we don't pay as much for the steel. Sounds good enough? Yeah, cool. Fuck you, Trump. All our steel's going over there.
Yeah.
Like, people can do United States. He wants to go back to the 80s where we're in the superpower era where it was Russia versus US. Those were the two biggest bullies on the block that contended. Everything, like, if you were in the Western Hemisphere, you bowed down to the United States. You were in the Eastern Hemisphere, you bowed down to Russia. Shit ain't like that no more. All these economies have grown. They've gotten better. People have become more, unified, with deals, oddly enough, like NAFTA and the European Union and, the Paris climate agreement and things like that. You have the G6, where all the world financial people come together and talk with each other and work on world finance. The world's not like it was before. It's not like everybody either begging Russia or United States for money. Yeah, we're all begging China for shit, but at the same time, even then, China is a lot more. Oddly enough, China is a lot more liberal with the way things are. Like, yeah, we'll give you the money. We're not going to jump on your backs and make you beholden to us, but just know that you do owe us money, okay? All right. All right. So don't fuck with us, please. Just don't fuck with us. No, he wants to go back to that whole USA on top, everybody bows down and loves us and shit like that. No, nobody wants to anymore. It's a more global world. It don't work like that no more.
I mean, even if we wanted that, I don't think he could pull it off, because this guy who's supposed to be this great negotiator seems to make elementary mistakes. This notion that you actually have to hold to your threats is something other presidents have learned, other leaders in general learn. If you say you're going to do some shit and you don't do it, it hurts. I'm sure there's previous presidents you could ask about that, and as a businessman, definitely you should know that shit. Like, you cannot establish yourself as somebody who is going to act like a tough guy and not be one. But I just wanted to touch on that real quick. Again, I haven't read any details on that, so
yeah, no, but that's
just getting my first impression.
You hit the nail on the head. That's essentially what it is. He just basically made the threat. He signed the order, which he did do it, but then he just like, I'll be nice to you. Like, I feel like he doesn't understand the carrot and the stick theory. The carrot and the stick isn't to whack them on the head with the stick and then give them the carrot and be like, okay, you're fine now. No, you give them the nice stuff, and when they don't act the way that you want, you whack them. That's the carrot and the stick theory, but he has no concept of that. He just so fucking ass backwards.
And to be clear, I'm not necessarily making the argument that he should have definitely held to that threat. I'm really making the argument that he shouldn't have made the threat in the first place, because he wouldn't have been able to keep this thing on. So don't make a threat that you are not truly willing to use.
Yeah, you're not committed to.
Yes. I mean, we shouldn't be threatening our allies anyway like that. But, you get the point. And maybe he wouldn't have done that if he actually consulted anybody about this shit. But whatever.
He has no commitment to anything that he comes up with, really.
The good news, we're going to be BFFs with North Korea.
Which he also... It's funny because you just reminded me. He also kind of reneged on that too, because after the whole idea of North Korea agreeing and the United States said, "Yeah, we'll talk to him," he came out and said, "There's a caveat. They have to get rid of their nukes before we go into negotiations." Which
did he say that?
He said that 2 days after the agreement.
Okay.
Because again, like you said. What is his negotiation strategy? He comes in. I guess that was his way of trying to do the stick and the carrot. But again, you don't get the concept of it because you don't agree to negotiate and then say just take the stick and just hold it in your hand. But we want this, and then don't hit them. Hit them. Either hit them or don't say the shit at all. Why do you want? Who is going? You're going to negotiate whether or not they should continue weapons. They told you after they made the agreement that part of the reason why they were weaponizing themselves was because they were unsure of what was going to happen in relation to the United States and whether or not they would need these things. You're not reassuring them. You're trying to bully them. It's like, well, first we want to find out what your intentions are first before we commit to this. No, he wants you to commit to it now because what does that say to North Korea? Okay, so he wants us to get rid of them now so he could probably fuck with us. I'm not getting rid of that shit. No, you're going to talk to me first.
Yes.
I'm not going to put myself in a position to be your bitch. No, sorry.
So I feel I probably missed that because, again, I've been busy the last couple of days. But I feel like part of him doing that must have been a response to all the criticism he was getting for agreeing to meet with these people, one, without really consulting anybody else, but two, without getting anything in return in the first place, because he seemed to have just agreed to do this shit with no conditions prior to that announcement he must have made where he said they need to denuke, which seems unlikely. This guy is supposed to be the great deal maker. I mean,
right. It's the funny thing is for North Korea to do what they did, they actually came to the table with South Korea. President Moon in South Korea organized a meeting to discuss these things, to come to an agreement of terms on what actions they were going to take next. Gee, that sounds very diplomatic and sounds like somebody who had a real plan and strategy and worked things out before he committed to something.
So, correct me if I'm wrong here. When I was looking at that issue, I feel like this Moon dude took advantage of the fact that we have a stupid president. Because I know he wants to get this shit done, but I don't know. I'm not sure to have any negative feelings there, but I feel like you recognize that we have a moron as president. You managed to fucking
No,
and don't get me wrong. There is definitely a reason for South Korea to want to be more friendly with the North because they can blow them the fuck up.
Yeah, because if we start some shit, they're not going to come to us first. They're going to march right fucking down to South Korea and possess that land and consolidate it, and then use their resources to come at us eventually.
Yeah, that was one of the major reasons we haven't been able to do much with North Korea is because our friend South Korea is right there, and they have weapons right there.
They're in between North Korea's ally, China, who has an agreement that if any military action happens, they will respond with them.
Right. So I say that to say that, President Moon, he has valid motivations to want to do something here. I feel like, I was the parent that wasn't home and you got my child to open the door so you could come and steal all our shit or something. I don't know. I might be wrong. I just feel like he took advantage of our stupid president.
No, he did, and everybody should. I seriously no, because they should and they are, because think about things like the Paris Climate Treaty. Us backing out, we had a structure where we were in a more dominant role in that whole thing. He took us away from that. Do you really think that the rest of the world is going to let us back in at the same position that we were? Fuck no. Now it's time for us to dance. He puts us in these fucking political positions internationally with all these wanting to withdraw from this, withdraw from that, withdraw from this. When if we ever want to try to make some type of deal, it's going to be that much harder. And meanwhile, the rest of the world now are restructuring and working things out to put themselves in a better position and to help themselves out. And fuck y'all over there with that dumb motherfucker. He don't care. So we're going to do our thing. And then if he actually tries to come hat in hand for something, well, no, even now, any president, from now on, aren't going to work from the same power base that we've had. That's why even with presidents that we haven't like Bush or Bush Sr., since the Cold War ended, have all approached diplomacy with some type of demur to them. They didn't just decide to go head on and run. Just like I remember Bush Sr. when the wall fell, he was very calm. He was like, "Yeah, that's good, but I'm not going to sit here and celebrate because now we got to figure out the world the way it is now. We can't just sit here and party because we can't. We're not just going to tap dance on the Soviet Union's grave. Mm-hmm. It's not that simple." Nope. And people gave him shit for that. But it was the right move because you don't do that. Because you have to work with the world. You have to figure out how the world's going to be and how to work. Because now you have all these other European countries that are now open to being able to negotiate and to be able to possibly, commit to trade agreements with us on their own because they're not committed to Russia anymore. You have opportunities here to make more friendships and to find out who's going to be the enemies. But you can read the chessboard better now. But no, he doesn't seem to have that idea at all. It's either America first or fuck you, without any thought.
He does not see global economics as a chessboard at all. Not a game of chess. It's a game of give me my shit. I'm Trump. Again, he always talked about what a great businessman he is. I always think of him as, or I think he thinks of himself as a cartoon version of a businessman. He thinks of himself as what a businessman is like in fiction. Because whenever he talks, I never get the sense that I'm looking at somebody who truly understands business that well. He has this cartoony representation of a business guy, and that's what he is. He's in a suit. He's that fucking car salesman who can talk you into any piece of crap he wants to. It's intriguing, but yes, again, I'm not trying to throw a lot of heat on President Moon. I think he has very valid motivations, and I think I don't want to say too much negative about him in general. He has very good reason to want to fix that situation. He's motivated to do that. I'm certain his heart is in a decent place here, but I feel as an American just a little taken advantage of when he did that shit. and I'm not blaming him for President Trump's issues as I see them, but when that news broke, I was like, and who knows? Maybe he didn't expect the president to just jump on board like that shit. But I feel like some part of him must have knew that was going to happen because Trump loves that type of shit, and he must know that. Some of this just feels too calculated to me. But
I think you're going to find that happen more. I mean, you're going to find more countries feeling like, all I need for him is just to do something stupid, and I can pounce and get what I want. That's all. I mean, Kim Jong-un has been doing it, but baiting him with these missiles and things the whole fucking time anyway. Even now with the whole agreement, because think about it, they just agreed. They did it in a diplomatic way, and this fool comes out with like tries to like be the bully mode. Now he's put them in the position they could be like, well, we were trying to play nice. And then he says this. Why is he being mean to us? He's victimized them in a way. It's like, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, it's great fuel for their propaganda factory over there in North Korea.
Exactly. It makes their war machine roar.
Yes, I feel very uncomfortable with the notion that our president can be manipulated that easily, but because he was fucking proud of this shit. I mean, no president could have done this. They said Obama could do this. Obama couldn't do this. Blah blah. Like, I brought it up because a good part of his speech in Pennsylvania was based around this. Him, I've said for so long we need to do something about North Korea. Blah blah blah. I was a little confused with what he was talking about because I feel like at one point he said something like, I've been saying that we need to be aggressive with them or something, and now he's talking about being their friend. It was a little confusing to me where I could not follow his train of thought, but generally the North Korea thing was a big talking point for him during that day.
Yeah. By the way, just real quick before we move to the next topic, or continue with this one, the effectiveness of Trump showing up at that rally for Rick Saccone right now. Rick Saccone has currently 45.1% of the vote. This is with 40% of the vote being counted so far. His opponent, I forget his first name, but his last name is Lamb. He currently has 54.3% of the vote. But Trump has really helped Mr. Saccone out.
I mean,
very well.
Maybe he would have if he'd actually talk about him.
Perhaps if he would just came out with 10 minutes to say, this guy is great. I support him. You guys should support him because you supported me. Let me introduce you to my friend, a great Republican, blah, blah, blah. Rick Saccone, get the crowd like hyped up for dude. Dude comes out, gives a good speech. Boom, we're behind him.
I mean, again, dude, like if I hadn't watched that hour and a half or hour and like 12 minutes or something video all the way through to the end where he introduced him, if I had just like stopped maybe 40 minutes in or so, I would have had no idea that was for.
Yeah, you would have probably called me a liar for saying that it was a rally for somebody else because he was campaigning for 2020 at the least.
Because part of the problem is he does these rallies so much that I just assumed that was just one of his rallies. I just assumed he felt like going out there and hyping up the crowd because he likes doing that shit. I didn't really have any reason to think that was an abnormal appearance for him because he does that a lot. So
yeah, he does. He's the only president I know that just does random rallies in places.
Oh snap! The new slogan. We got a new slogan. Oh shit! Oh, what was it? He said like, we can't say "Make America Great Again" anymore because I already did that. And then he's like, the new slogan is "Keep America Great" or whatever. Damn it! Was that what it was?
So is it? Because I have to say this, and I hate to say it this way. I much more prefer MAGA than CAGA.
I think it's just wouldn't it just be CAG? It's like "Keep America Great."
It'll be CAG. I'm thinking he's saying "Keep America Great" again because I can see him have that bad alliteration. It's funny because the CNN breakdown of the 64 points, the guy made a point about how he was doing a lot of double entendres and like all types of, you know, English things that make. What did he say he was doing? He's like, at this point, like all the English majors in the world have probably fainted or started drinking or some shit like that listening to Trump speak. Like,
yes, it was Keep America Great. I looked at that.
so it's CAG.
Yeah.
CAG. Okay.
It goes right to his fucking. I mean, he's the president, and he's out there like hyping up the crowd, like, we got this new catchphrase, dog. Like, he even hyped it up to like give it this big reveal. He said something like, I can't tell you what it is, but I'm gonna let you know the secret. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
I can't tell you what it is, but I'm gonna let you. It's like stuff like that. It's like, come on.
Wasn't a direct quote, but it was something like that. Because
I'm sure it was a direct quote.
He made it sound like it was like a secret of some kind that he was gonna wait to reveal.
In fact, I could see him even making it worse. Like, I can't tell you the secret. I mean, it's just such a big secret. It's such a big secret. Big secret. It's a secret that you would never like be able to fathom if I told you this. I mean, but you want to hear the secret? You want to hear the secret? Yeah, you want to hear the secret. I'm gonna just tell you the secret. Secret is this. It's like, oh my god. Oh.
But
that man.
It is decent showmanship though. I mean, they got into it, and when he finally said it, they popped. They definitely did pop after he said that shit. So,
well, let's go to the final and probably the more lighthearted, hilarious topic.
Sure.
Betsy Devos, our beloved Secretary of Education. Have you had a chance to see any of this interview?
Nope.
You did.
I caught like a little second where she was like stammering a bit, but
holy shit. If you thought the Trump thing was like just like mind-blowing, Betsy DeVos, the Secretary of Education, went on 60 Minutes and gave an interview where they discussed, different things like charter schools, public school funding, things like that. And holy shit, did she do? If she probably did more damage than any cabinet member has done so far with that one interview. And that's saying a lot because we've been with this administration for over a year now. And we've had stories like fucking Ben Carson like several times, and Rick Perry and the Tillerson fiasco and all that. If he ever says I pick the best people again, people should like throw bricks at him, because if this is the best that you could pick as the head of education, good Lord, are you stupid, Donald Trump? She basically did not know any of her policies. She really didn't have any opinion on anything. The teacher would ask her things like, how do you feel about, the fact that in your home state, Detroit, public schools having their funds taken away by you when you were there have made it worse for your students. And she'd be like, well, I don't know if that necessarily is true because the statistics don't really tell everything. What was her comment? Schools are about the individuals, or attended by individuals. It's not necessarily not necessarily about the whole, but about the individuals that are attended. And it was like, the lady's like, but each student attends that school, and that school is being affected by the policy. So doesn't that have to do with each of these individual students as a whole? And she was like, I don't really know. I mean, I haven't looked at the numbers, and it's like, wait. Everything she's asking you have no clue about. She asked her about the success of charter schools. She asked her about the effectiveness of testing, all types of stuff. And she was like, I don't really know anything about that for almost every answer. This is your education secretary. This is the person who's shaping the path that the United States is going to go about educating the masses.
So that part where she said, it's about the individual or whatever, that was like the one 2-second clip I've caught. because I didn't miss that thing. I actually intentionally avoided listening to it because after I heard that one little clip, give me a fucking break. I just listened to Trump for an hour. I couldn't take it anymore. I'm sorry.
You suffered enough, and you had a long weekend.
Yes, I was trying to catch up for the podcast, and I saw I was gonna listen to it, but God damn it, I couldn't.
No, it was hard to take. Like I could take Trump grandstanding a lot more than I could take this because we expect this from Trump. We know this is who Trump is. This woman has purported herself to be someone who knows how to fix the school system. She claims she fixed the school system in the state of Michigan by putting more money to charter schools. And now that gives students more choices because they can take their money wherever they want and blah, 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 blah. When you see like pretty much like the city of Detroit's public school system is just falling to pieces and bits and all over the state of Michigan. It's like that. Like Michigan has the lowest test scores in the nation every year. But like, it's not even a question when like national testing happens. Michigan is always the lowest for like I forget how long they said. It's because the education system there is just so fucking poor.
What did she used to do before this again?
She's kind of an heiress. Her family made a lot of money.
That's what I was thinking, because I remember thinking, like, what the fuck was on her resume to warrant this again?
She just happens to be a rich person who got inherited money, who I guess, I mean, I know she had some type of like dealings with, again, she helped build the system in Michigan, but she doesn't really have any, she's kind of like a Trump. She doesn't really have any true political background except for the little that she gained out of nowhere.
Because when I was listening to that short clip of her talk, that's all I could think is like, what is she? First of all, what does she do on a day-to-day basis? And secondly, why does she want this job? What was she doing before this? Where did this woman come from? Like, she doesn't know shit. And again, it was mostly just that part about the individual thing. Like, what is she talking about? None of that made any sense. You could tell, I don't know if she even realizes what she was doing. I assume she must have started to understand that she was getting caught in some bullshit and she was trying to stammer her way out of this problem.
But no, there were times where I don't think she was, because she would clearly answer, I don't know what that is. Like she wouldn't even hide the fact that she had no knowledge. And it was just like weird, like, why would you even say, like, you can't even come up with anything? Okay, because I'm looking up her background. Like, one of the thing that got her most notice, and I guess probably got her on board, was because she was a big fundraiser for the Republican Party. She would raise a lot of money with her political contacts, because she apparently her husband invested in some what was it called? Some brain performance research for like biofeedback therapy and things like that. So I guess that's her education background. Because she like did brain research, but she mostly it's like money that she raised and given. Because I remember they were saying she was one of the biggest people who raised money for Trump at the time. So
is that her big accomplishment, that she raised money for Trump? We talk about hiring the best people, and I look at these people like her, like Carson, like Pruitt. I mean, I just look at these guys and I can't even understand why. I know why, because they're friends with Trump or whatever, but what logic you would have behind putting these people in these particular jobs? They don't seem to have any experience, any knowledge, any interest. Like I don't understand why she wants to have this job other than it has some sort of prestige to it. I don't even get the sense that she's that interested in education, really.
Yeah, I'm looking at her, she was basically an advocate for charter schools, but it doesn't look like she actually did anything but advocate for it. She probably, most likely donated money to somebody who agreed with her. Yeah.
I guess another way to put the question is, when I listened to her talk, I just thought, why doesn't she quit? What I mean, maybe she's making some sort of money through this that makes it worth it. I don't know. But I look at her and I'm just like, why are you here? Are you even interested in this job? You've been here for a year and you don't even know what the fuck is going on. Like,
yeah, like she's donated to a lot of educational things that are proponents of basically charter schools and things like that, not public funding, just like not helping public schools, just basically charter systems. So yeah, no, she has no real education experience except for she believes in charter schools. And
that's the biggest question for me with some of these people is just why, outside of maybe some sort of money you're getting either through the salary or maybe through some under the cover shit, I just don't understand why some of these people even want this shit. Especially her, when I listen to that conversation, because I'm like, are you even interested in kids? Are you interested in
must
education?
have some type of money involved in charter schools, and that's probably
I have to assume, because I just look at her, I'm like, I don't even understand why you're sitting here. Even if you had no experience and we accepted that, you've been sitting here for a year and you still can't answer the basic questions about your job, which begs the question, what have you been doing for the past year?
Yeah, no. It was a fucking like train wreck of an interview. And the lady, you could tell the lady interviewer was getting pissed. Like the way she was coming at her, like when she was like, what do you mean you don't know? You have to know something. She was literally like sitting there getting angrier. And that's what made it more even like crazy, because you could tell the interviewer was just really, really frustrated, or was really started to kind of pound on her a bit, because it was like, I can't believe you're this fucking dumb. Are you serious? So she just like was kind of, you could make a case that she was attacking Devos at one point, because it's like, come on, can you give me an answer on anything? Like,
it reminds me of that conversation Carson had with that dude a few weeks ago, where that dude's asking him like very basic questions over and over, and Carson's like, I don't want to pull out the numbers and look at them right now.
Like, I don't need you to pull out numbers. Tell me what you know about the numbers.
Well, I
have a brief overview, something.
I guess she at least acknowledged she doesn't know shit. So I guess that was a little better.
It really isn't, because she likes to go and do all these public visits that she'd be getting booed at. She's just made that a lot worse. I feel like she just needs to just like resign. I would. After that interview, I would resign, because.
But I guess my question was, why hasn't she already resigned? Again, I guess she must be getting some money, because to have been, if you threw me in a job that I had no idea what the fuck I was doing and somehow I managed not to lose it for a year, I feel like I could answer some of the basic questions about that job at some point, if only for the sake of.
Yeah, I'll tell you I could do something, and then I'll learn bare minimum so I can get by at least. You know, so I can pretend like I'm of value to you.
So when she said that shit, I was like, you must just be sitting in your office like dicking around all day, because I mean, you must have at least picked up some of this knowledge just sitting there listening to somebody.
But you know what? If now you just made me think about something. Think about this. Outside of Rex Tillerson, who we've seen be talked about going to negotiate with different countries and doing things, and what's his name? Keebler Elf guy. Shit, I can't think of his name. The head of Justice Department.
I know what you mean, but you shouldn't have called him the elf guy, because now all I can think is Keebler.
he makes delicious cookies. Shit. God. He called him Mr. Magoo. God damn it. Everybody knows who I'm talking about. The head of the Justice Department. Outside of those two, though, what has really anybody on this cabinet done?
Jeff Sessions.
Jeff Sessions. Thank you.
I googled Keebler Elf and news.
See, Google has acknowledged his alter identity. The secret's out. He is the Keebler Elf man. But but outside of Jeff Sessions and Tillerson, who on his cabinet has done anything that hasn't just totally been corrupt and batshit insane? Like, they actually have been doing their jobs. Say what you will about Tillerson's, qualifications as a CEO of Exxon, and Sessions did have some experience. He was in the Senate. He'd been a judge, a lawyer, so he has law experience. But outside of those two, what the fuck is the rest of them doing? Mind you, I'm talking about the rest of them as in the rest of the cabinet people who are actually employed, because he still has not employed a full cabinet yet. Like, what do they do?
Did they sit around? What does Carson do as
I
part
guess
of HUD?
Betsy Devos would be third in line as like having done quote unquote something since she's at least visited schools. It's like, seriously, what are these people doing? These best people, brilliant people.
And these are people that are on that are in the line of succession for president, by the way. But
yeah, if a bunch of people die, they're it. Shit.
Even Betsy DeVos, she's number 16 in line. So, and Carson is number 13.
Holy shit! So if they're having a meeting of the cabinet and somebody shoots a rocket, and Carson and Betsy DeVos are all ET survivors, that's our president and vice president, people.
I mean, even if they don't, like, if the situation was so. Just to read right down real quick: Vice President Mike Pence, then Speaker of the House Ryan, then President pro tempore of the Senate Orrin Hatch, then it would be Secretary of State, who is going to be Pompeo now instead of Tillerson. Then we got Treasury, which is Steve Mnuchin. Defense, Mattis. Attorney General, Jeff Sessions. Secretary of the Interior, Ryan Zinke. The list doesn't get better.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I hate to say this. Who the fuck is Ryan Zinke? I didn't even know this guy exists. I didn't even know, like, seriously. Who is this guy?
That is the best... it's probably the best thing you can say about somebody in this office right now, right? Because you haven't heard too much about him. I heard his name the other day pop up, but
okay.
My point is, though, if you go down further down that list, then you'll hit Carson and Rick Perry and DeVos and whoever. It's not a fun list to look at. Was my main point.
The top 5 names that you listed are horrible. Like, you have Ryan Pence. What you said, Ryan and Pence? I was kind of dumb, to be quite honest.
Hatch and Mnuchin. But
yeah, because like if Orrin Hatch were like, if everybody in the line of succession died and Orrin Hatch was left, we're going back to the 1830s, not the 1930s, the 1830s.
I mean, only like 3 people would have to die for him to be president: Trump, Pence, and Ryan, and then you have President Hatch. But yeah, it's
horrible.
It's a funny line of succession, and I wanted you guys to think about that. But because it related to your question about what do these people do, I don't know what the fuck they do, and it's weird to me that we have these people in these positions who, one, were not qualified, don't seem to have any prior even interest, like even as a hobby. Like, I don't know if Carson was ever interested in housing development and shit, but there's no specific reason for them to be there. And then you look at them and it's like, I'm not even sure they're even trying at all. I would like to think that these people go into their office and try their hardest, but I'm not quite seeing the evidence. And I want some sort of like news crew to go in and just like sit with them for a day just to see what they do, because
you know what, if CNN and MSNBC wants to do some real like digging into this and not just focus on Trump, that's what one of them should do. They should send out correspondents to spend time with each head of the different departments on the cabinet and to see exactly what's going on, because that would be an interesting news piece. It would probably scare the living shit out of it, especially when they get to Rick Perry and energy. And you'd be like, oh my God, is that like a nuclear rod sitting on the ground in your office? like he was like, yeah, it glows. Isn't it pretty? He's like, no, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. Like, I would love to see what each of them are doing right now, because I 100% have little to no confidence that any of them are doing their job great. Well, I take that back. I actually have some slight confidence in Keeper Elf guy. He tries. I don't agree with some of the things he do, but he at least tries hard. Tillerson kind of tried.
I mean,
was handcuffed. Tillerson was honestly Tillerson's job has to be the worse than Sessions. I know a lot of people think Sessions is like super battered and beleaguered, but you can't imagine. I'm sure if Tillerson wrote a book, you'd cry for that man because again, he is the voice of the president to the world. He has to deal with what the president says about the world. It's just like when that whole thing where Tillerson was like, yeah, we're trying diplomacy with Korea, and Trump came back when the next day, send missiles up their asses and shit. It's like, no, I can't talk to these people when they know our leader wants to send missiles up their ass because they're listening to me. It's like, you saying all this good shit, but your boy wants to fuck us.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I will say for Tillerson, every once in a while I'd hear his name when he was doing some shit. I'm like, wait, this dude is actually doing his job. He was that fucking. I mean, this wasn't exactly his field before. He was a business dude, like
oil.
I was
negotiation.
I was genuinely shocked when he was caught actually trying to work.
Yeah,
so, which is a weird.
No, and that was the contention with him and Trump because he actually was trying to at least pretend like, well, he wasn't pretending. He was actually trying to be like, look, I'm not just going to just be a fucking figurehead. I want to actually at least prove that I can do this job, and that was probably his downfall is that he actually tried to do it. That's the sad part. That is the saddest statement I think I've ever made or heard when it comes to a political position. He tried to do his job, and that's why he lost it.
Fuck. Oh, God.
Wow.
I don't know how to process that.
Yeah.
Maybe we should end there.
Yeah, I think that's I think I just broke my fucking brain, y'all. And I have no alcohol to help me. But I do have this new TV, by the way. But now the cat's out of the bag. I actually posted a YouTube video because I figured at some point it might get mentioned on this podcast. So I might as well put up a quote unquote unboxing video.
I wonder when to expect my TV, but
February 5th.
All right. Okay there. Thanks there. Spending all the money on yourself there, Carson?
I'm sorry, but I only had $500 and that was got you a decent TV, okay? You wouldn't have been satisfied with $500 TV. You had to have had the like $3,000 LG 65-inch Ultra HD.
My TVs are shit, so I'd settle for pretty little. Like when you go to a Walmart, they have like the TVs like lined up from like cheapest and smallest to biggest and most awesome. It's just that's on like walk by the cheapest ones first. I'm like, that's a pretty good looking TV.
Yeah, no, it is funny. The funny thing is, I think I sent you a video clip the day I went and bought it, and that was first thing I sent you was the biggest TV because Best Buy is smart. They put the biggest TV right there in the open where you can prominently see it to draw your attention. Like, yeah, I see what y'all doing. Fuck out of here. I ain't paying $4,000 for no TV, but it looks pretty though.
That shit's like technology. Yeah, that shit's starting to look realer than real life.
No, this just on a quick aside, 4K TVs are scary. I don't sometimes like watching this because it just weirds me out seeing some of the stuff that's crystal clear. I put Iron Man on the Blu-ray and I was just like, oh my fucking shit. This movie is like over 10 years old almost. When did Iron Man come out? Actually, it might be more than 10 years. It might be like 2006 or 3, something like that. But yeah, Iron Man looked like he was right fucking
2008
there. Yeah, Iron Man looked like he was right there, and this is like pre-4K technology that they used on this movie.
Sometimes I find that shit kind of alarming psychologically, but we can talk about my fears of technology some other time, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, we will. We have to do that with Katina because she's probably gonna be wanting to do that. Y'all are geeks, and
what do you want? You want to make that the topic next time instead?
You know, we should try to do that. That would be a nice change of pace instead of.
Yes, because I, as much as I distaste Trump, I do feel like we spent a little much time shitting on him. And to be fair, he gives a lot to shit on. But whatever the topic may be, if somebody wants to throw something down in the comments
if you
section,
have a topic or you have something like socially, politically that doesn't involve Trump,
sure.
if you want to discuss, please. You can either leave it in the comment section. You can email us at WisguyGSE@gmail.com. You can tweet us at WisguyGSE. And I think I have DMs open on there too.
I will try not, if it comes up in the comment section on YouTube, I will try not to just like answer it in a book long message before it shows up on the show.
Yeah, because we need to have there's many things that could discuss us in the world, but won't make us as angry as this man will. So yeah.
Actually, matter of fact, when you shared that shit out, like put like a little blurb in the Twitter thing. It says to ask questions or whatever. In case some people got sick of all the Trump shit talking and cut out before the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'll put that at the end. I'll actually add that to the outro now. Just if we have questions, whatever, blah blah blah, hit us at. Yeah, I'll do that. That works.
Yeah. But
please give us some inspiration.
Yes, we'll come up with some kind of topic, whether it's that tech shit or I don't know. I was about to say we should have like a no Trump rule on the next one, but that's pretty hard. I mean,
actually, that might be the title of the next one. There's no Trump talk here.
You honestly think he's not going to do something that's going to force
he will.
To talk about?
Oh, come on. This election that's going on now, he's going to have something to say after it. There's going to be more on Tillerson. Remember, this Tillerson thing just happened this morning. There will be more like fallout from that. Somebody else is going to get fired after somebody else did get fired or left because they said his personal assistant was removed today as well.
We had the fucking White House committee thing say there's no Russia.
See, we've skipped over stuff like that. This is a big thing. The Republican committee saying that they found no collusion, no evidence that Trump had any involvement with Russians, even though there's fucking evidence every fucking where. But okay. They didn't seem to think that it warranted anything. Fucking
yes.
Like yeah, I'm sure there's a million more stories that we, skip. But I'm tired. It's late. I'm hungry. I haven't eaten. My brain hurts because I just again told you guys that a guy got fired for doing his job. The fuck? Oh my god.
I mean, if we're willing to do a no Trump rule for that next podcast, I'm willing to oblige. I'm just saying, I don't imagine he's going to give us a break on that.
No, I just need 1 week. Like seriously, if everybody watching the show after you watch this, go to Trump's Twitter, put the hashtag "Give us a break." Ask this man to just be quiet and chill for 1 week, please.
I mean,
please.
Yeah, I don't know. We should definitely think about that. Because you look at a show like John Oliver's, and you can tell like he intentionally makes topics that are not Trump based.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, he doesn't escape from it because I know he has to still talk about it at least at the beginning part sometimes. But
yeah,
you can tell he has to. It's weird how he has to make like a conscious effort, or they do on the show. They have to make like a conscious effort to talk about something else.
Yeah.
That's the world we live in. You have to actually think about not thinking about Trump because you can't escape this motherfucker. I bet if I go to the news thing on Google right now, he's definitely in one of those things. Yep, the Tillerson thing is there. There's 3 or 4 articles mostly based around Trump. Yeah, fuck this guy. We'd have to talk about it next time. He can go fuck his other porn stars and.
By the way, 87% of the voters in, and Lamb is still up by about 1.5%.
But this guy got that Trump rub, bruh. That's not kind of gross. He got the Trump endorsement.
Yeah, you don't want the Trump rub.
No.
Yeah. Unless he's going to give you $130,000 for you to let him rub you.
I mean,
I need more than that.
yeah.
Like, this is a good place to end at. Let's end with this question for everybody. I'm actually going to make a poll too, and I'm going to put it up on my personal YouTube. And I'm going to put it up on the Wise. I mean, not YouTube, but personal Twitter and the Wise Guy Game Sports Entertainment Twitter, because I want to get response to this. And feel free to answer this in the question, and we'll leave it at that. If you were a female porn star and Trump wanted to fuck you, but wanted you to keep it quiet, and he was willing to pay you to keep it quiet. Question 1, how much would you allow him to do to you? And question 2, how much would it be worth to you to allow that to go down?
I have to answer that because
No, we can save this for next week.
Oh,
I'm going to see how long I can make the poll on Twitter. We're going to save that.
so
I want to see what your responses are. I'm going to put up a poll with 3 responses, but the third response is going to be other. And if you pick other, tell us what the other is, please.
Yeah,
and again, feel free to answer it in the comment section as well. I want to know. Fucking want to know. God. I'm going to put it up on Facebook, all that shit. I'm going to post the links. Please, I want this. In fact, that's what I think we need to start doing, like taking a Facebook group. I have one actually set up. I need to start utilizing it more and just go ahead and be like, fuck it, group question. Go sign up to go to Facebook, look for Wise Guy Gaming Sports and Entertainment. You can sign, you can follow that. I will put it there too. All that shit. Yes. I need to know.
So then we answer the hard questions like, how would you let the president fuck you?
How would you let him fuck you and for how much? That is a burning question.
The hard questions over here. That's what we do on this show.
Let's be honest. If it was Obama, people would probably be like for free. And he can do whatever the fuck he wants, because I'm sure that's what Michelle's like. Yo, Barry, you got it. Like,
why are we doing
that? Because we need levity. We have a whole lot of bullshit going on. We need levity to this. Okay.
It's just I'm done. Let's.
Okay, so in closing, thank you guys for watching and listening to The Reason Reborn. We appreciate you guys as always. Hopefully you enjoyed this and didn't pull your hair out during the whole thing. Any part of it you have for the people? Huh?
Imagine Trump pulling your hair from the
God. You just put it
You're welcome.
It's fine. Any parting words to the people, sir? Other than that disgusting bit. Any books if you have to recommend to you? If you don't, cool.
I was gonna go with The Better Angels of Our Nature: Why Violence Has Declined by Steven Pinker. It's a hell of a book. It's a little long, but I think if you listen to it, it's less painful than a read. It goes through, this assumption people have that we're living in the worst time ever, and it shows with like a lot of numbers, a lot of statistics, a lot of delving into psychology and stuff, that a lot of bad things have really declined. Violence towards women and children and pretty much everybody has declined throughout the world. Murder rates have declined. It shows that a lot of good trends have been happening throughout human history that people don't tend to acknowledge because fuck knows, they watch the news and they think the world is always coming to an end. But generally speaking, it has gotten a lot better. And this book is a fascinating delve into that. And it also discusses from a psychological standpoint why those improvements have been happening. He does have to do a lot of work, at least in the beginning part, to even convince you that the good trends have been happening, because a lot of people just don't believe that any good trends have been happening in history. So, brace yourself to have that proven to you if you don't believe that now. And then it's a very interesting book. I like Steven Pinker as a writer. He's a very interesting writer in general. Psycholinguist, great evolutionary psychologist, a lot of cool stuff there.
Cool. All right. Well, there you have it. So we're out of here. I'm gonna go put up this poll because it's important.
Yeah.
We get this knowledge. So please feel free to answer.
All right. And make Trump wear a condom.
Yeah, that should be one of the stipulations. For the love of God! Oh my God! Could you imagine getting impregnated by?
Can we? I'm done. Turn off the show. I don't want to talk anymore.
All right, we're gone. Thank you again. We appreciate you. And we see you next time on the Reason Report. Peace.